of organized mining in Nigeria began in 1903 when the Mineral Survey of the Northern Protectorates was created by the British colonial government. Following this development, the Mineral Survey of the Southern Protectorates was founded about 1 year after. For the next 4 decades after, the mining industry witnessed the influx of British and German foreign mining companies. These companies introduced mechanized mining, which led to higher productivity of the mines and consequently land devastation, as no law was put in place by the colonial government to guide mineral extraction. By the 1940s, Nigeria was a major producer of tin, columbite, and coal. The increased world demand for petroleum products, coupled with the collapse of the international market for mineral commodities and the indigenization decree of the early 70s, compounded responsibility on Nigeria to sustain the tempo of mineral development. Looking at the vast mineral deposits in Nigeria, mining has the potential to significantly contribute to the country's economic development. Now, this is one of the main thrusts of the current administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, to significantly increase the nation's GDP via this sector. The mining industry in Nigeria has historically been dominated by the oil and gas sector, leaving other mineral resources largely untapped. Nevertheless, Nigeria is rich in mineral resources such as coal, limestone, tin, gold, and tantalite, among others. Research has shown that in Nigeria, every local government area has at least one mineral deposit that, if adequately tapped, can translate to billions, if not trillions of dollars for our economy. So, who says Nigeria isn't abundantly blessed by the Almighty? Over the years, the mining sector has faced numerous challenges and obstacles that have hindered its growth and potential. This gave rise to a 2-day roundtable summit on sustainable development of the mining sector or industry in Nigeria, which was organized by the National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies, NIPSS, in collaboration with Brut Costo. On policy focus, we will bring you the entire plenary session of the stakeholders who converged at the Abuja Intercontinental Hotel for in-depth brainstorming. Thank you for staying with us. I am Lydia Odije Ochi. Welcome back to our focus today. We now bring to you activities of Day 1, the deliberations by technical groups on critical issues surrounding the current state of the mining industry in Nigeria, its challenges, opportunities, and prospects. Take a look.
The National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies NIPSS, led by the Director General Professor Ayo Omotayo, in partnership with Buhwe Costo, also led by the Managing Partner Alhaji Lai Mohammed, former Minister for Information, convened the 2-day Roundtable Summit for stakeholders in the mining sector to change the trajectory of the mining sector for good. Professor Ayo Omotayo, in his welcome address, said it is very important that government continues to intensify efforts to streamline and clarify policies and regulations towards ensuring consistency and transparency in the mining sector.
We cannot overrate the petroleum sector because it has done so. We believe that the petroleum sector has concluded most of the 475 billion. So we need to charge other sectors in order to be able to get the difference between 475 and the 1 trillion that this government is looking for. We believe that the trillion-dollar economy cannot be achieved if the mining sector is underperforming or is not paying its own fair share. Of course, there are other sectors. For us at the end, we started working with the manufacturing sector. We believe the manufacturing sector can deliver a 5% year-on-year growth in the next 5 years. The GDP of Nigeria will significantly increase. Now we are on the mining sector. Steel is part of it. There is no country that has made significant contributions to its own GDP or that has grown without a successful steel sector. So I'm so excited that the Minister for Steel is also here, because between the two ministries we expect that significant contributions, up to 70% of what is left for us to reach the $1 trillion economy can be contributed by those two ministries. So that is why we are here today. And if we are going to also meet the expectations of Mr. President in all the political sectors to be firing on all cylinders. So today I welcome all of you for finding the time to discuss, to think, discuss, and chart a pathway for the mining sector of Nigeria. Can the mining sector within the next 5 years increase our GDP significantly? Can it contribute in dollar terms $300 billion year in, year out, starting from 2004? From 2024. I believe the mining sector and the steel sector can contribute $300 billion. That is the target we have at NIPSS. That is why we have called all of us together. We are going to look at all the sectors, we are going to look at all the states, we are going to look at every other thing that has to do with mining and chart to move forward. Excellencies here present and honorables, past and present, ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you. Please be ready for an intensive 2 days. We want to monitor, we want to meter everything everybody says, and we are going to specifically look for ways and means of ensuring that we account for how the $300 billion can happen. If at the end of the day it cannot happen, we will see how far we can go, and the outcome will be presented to the two ministers that are present here.
Former Minister of Information and Managing Partner, Buhui Costo, Alhaji Lai Mohammed, said the roundtables aimed at charting a way forward to deliver a diversified economy and to formulate policies to advance the mining industry and provide clear guidelines for community engagement.
In today's complex landscape, the convergence of public and private interests is paramount for driving sustainable growth. Therefore, at Blue Coastal, we are committed to fostering meaningful dialogue and cooperation among diverse stakeholders, transcending traditional barriers and fostering a culture of mutual understanding and collaboration. Our aim is to get these stakeholders to stop talking at one another and embrace the culture of talking to one another. Our partnership with the Washington, D.C.-based lobbyist firm, Ballard Partner Group, has enabled us to assemble a formidable team of professionals with extensive experience across all levels of government. This partnership permits us to advise government on key sectors such as the mining sector. The advisory board of BC consists of former ministers, retired ambassadors, energy and security experts, and global innovators, such as Tubani Yadibayo, the former governor of Ekiti State, and the immediate past Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment. Mrs. Aisha Abubakar, former Minister of State for Investment, and currently Chairman of Nasima Business Women Group. Major General Babagana Mohammed Nguno, a retired general and former National Security Advisor of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Dr. Joy Sabanyo, former Chief Economic Advisor to the President. And Babatunde Adishon, a former Nigerian career diplomat. Engineer Abdurrashid Media, an accomplished executive in the energy industry with about 25 years experience in Europe, North America, and Asia, and the Middle East. And in Yoruba at Voyage, founding partner Future Africa and co-founder of Andela and Flutterwave, two Africa's unicorns. We proudly stand here as arguably the first Nigerian film, openly led and driven by former government officials. We firmly believe that public service transcends our previous portfolios, but rather a continuous pursuit of dedicated service, impact, and problem solving, which is our core motivation, first as individuals and then as an entity. I would like to say that we are proud to be leading and transforming the public policy and advocacy landscape based on the prevailing lobbying models in developed nations that are mostly owned and driven by a group of former senior government officials. On the strength of our partnership with the Developed Partners Group, we will maintain a global presence with strategic alliances extending across Africa, Asia, Europe, and America. Still on partnership, I would like to express my profound gratitude to the visionary leadership and management of the National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies, NIPSS, for their confidence in our brand and their willingness to collaborate with us in fostering dialogue, innovation, and progress in shaping Nigeria's economic landscape. Our partnership with NIPSS serves as a pivotal force, propelling us towards this exciting new frontier, drawing from the institution's wealth of knowledge and resource in policy and strategic studies. I take immense pride in highlighting that our alliance with NIPSS represents a fusion of diverse expertise, experiences, insights, and research capabilities, enriching the scope and depth of discussions set to unfold at this summit. One of the fruits of the collaboration between Coastal and NIPSS is this brainstorming session for stakeholders in the mining industry in Nigeria. We are optimistic that today's gathering marks the beginning of what will be a series of fruitful collaborations between the two entities, aimed at advancing different sectors in Nigeria. Furthermore, we are actively pursuing partnerships, including an ongoing collaboration effort with the Nigerian Content Development and Monitoring Board, further underscoring our commitment to driving sectorial growth and development. At BC, we leverage our extensive knowledge public policy experience, intergovernmental relationship, and strategic partnership to exceed our clients' expectations in any strategic capital of the world. In Nigeria specifically, our partnership with NIPSS enables us to provide strategic answers to institutions on interactions and partnerships with government entities. We enable investment decisions making, and we build corporate reputation and citizenship. We also drive alignments of corporate interests with government policy objectives. Through this brainstorming session of today, we hope to bring key stakeholders in mining for the private sector, government, and civil society to discuss the current mining landscape in Nigeria and explore potential opportunities for investment facilitation and sector development.
The Vice President, Kashim Shettima, who was represented by Abdullahi Sule, Governor of Nasarawa State, said President Bola Tinubu would soon inaugurate Nigeria's largest lithium factory capable of processing 4,000 metric tons of lithium per day.
This 7-point agenda that you have is what is going to define the industry. Locally for me, I spent most of my life in the oil and gas sector, both in Houston, Texas, and here in Nigeria before I actually became a governor, or before I joined the Dangote Group and then later became a governor. And so we have always said that Nigeria is really a gas country that is blessed with oil. Because in reality, Nigeria today has less than 40 billion barrels of oil reserve, but over 200 trillion standard cubic feet of gas in place. And so 15 years ago, nearly 80% of our gas was being flared until recently when people started looking for options where the LNG, the LPG, and the rest of that started coming into place. And I came into Nasarawa State and discovered that we do have oil in Nasarawa State. As a matter of fact, it is one of the 3 northern states that have what we call the deep onshore line. And that is where the former president actually commissioned the start of the drilling of our Ebeni oil well after the one in Gombe. So it's still being drilled. And let me tell you something. Because of the presence of gas in Nigeria, even though that oil they started drilling it in March last year, up till this moment, they have not reached what we call the sand of interest, which means they have not reached the oil yet. 1 year later, and somebody will ask why, if we have technical people around. The reason is simple. They hit gas much earlier than necessary, and the gas prevented them from reaching the oil. And during the process, they lost the wellhead. They had to go looking for what we call the fishing tool to go and start looking for that. But all that is of great interest to me. However, solid mineral is of bigger interest to me as far as Nasarawa State is concerned. And that is the reason why I said I must be part of this event, and I'm happy to have had everything that I have had so far. Nigeria is blessed when it comes to solid minerals. And indeed, solid minerals is the way to go. The minister has said so much about so many things that I wanted to have said. Everywhere you see Mr. President now, in every country he has gone, the minister has become the senior minister. I'm the junior minister. I think the president is now the senior minister of solid minerals. Because what I see him doing is, everywhere he goes, he will say, in Nigeria, we have the highest purity of lithium. In Nigeria, I say, this man who's teaching you about lithium? And this is what is actually, going on, because the lithium is the direction to go. And to give you just a flashpoint, the Honorable Minister was here in Nasarawa State just a few months ago, to be part of the groundbreaking of a factory. But before I mention the size of that factory, he just mentioned to you again that Mr. President is going to commission the biggest factory so far in Nigeria that is going to be processing 4,000 metric tons of lithium a day, transporting to over 1 million metric tons of lithium a year. So far it will be our biggest, 4,000. But what is happening is that the one that the Honorable Minister actually came for the commission, of the start for the groundbreaking, that one is going to be processing 18,000 metric tons of lithium a day. And by the time they finish that, if you just want to have an idea of the quantity, if you know the tippers that are taking lithium, these big tippers, that are 15 tons tippers, it will mean 500 of those tippers a day that are going to be feeding that factory. And that is just in one location in Nasarawa. And as if that is not enough, we are now beginning to see another site that has even bigger amount of lithium than even that one that will be doing 18,000. This is how much Nigeria is blessed. And I just mentioned to you, when it comes to the oil, Nigeria has less than 40,000 barrels per day. By the time they finish all this ownership, in Nasarawa, in Gombe, and the one coming up in that, Nigeria will end up with roughly about 50 billion barrels of oil reserve in the country. But when you come to this particular industry in mining, this is where to go. Because I'm just telling you, in one location, this is in one state, this is what you are getting. By the time you go to so many other states, Osun, Kwara, Ogun, and the rest of that. I was in Dangote when we started the issue of cement. Initially, Nigeria was importing all her cement, and Nigeria there was consuming less than 20 million tons of cement a year. Now, Dangote alone has the capacity from Ebeshe to Obajana and to Benue, has the capacity actually to produce over 25 million metric tons of cement from the limestone in Nigeria, from the sand in Nigeria, and the rest of that. What is that? Pure, solid mineral development.
The Vice President commended the Minister of Solid Minerals and Development, Dele Alake, for the reforms he had brought to the solid minerals sector, particularly its plan to sanitize and reposition the sector to boost Nigeria's economic profile.
We have not had any next meeting where the minister was invited to come and make a presentation, but he had taken it, and the moment he said 50% of this structure is going to be private sector driven. For some of us who spend most of their life in the private sector, we know that's the right way to go. You can see how excited I was that this is where to go. And so, Honorable Minister, I want to really congratulate you.
Dele Alake, Minister of Solid Minerals Development, emphasized on the importance of the steel industry to the development of any country and added that the Solid Minerals Ministry should be the point where all government agencies should revolve.
The fault has never been in our stance, it's always been in ourselves. Nigeria since 1960 or even beyond, before then, had always operated the agricultural economy, depending largely or substantially on oil. And because of the free flow of the petrodollars, we cast aside attention or cast away attention from the other germane and critical sectors of the economy, like the solid minerals, like agriculture, like other salient sectors that will galvanize the gross domestic product of the country. So we became very permissive as a people, we became very indulgent as a nation, and we became also a consuming nation rather than a productive nation. And that's the reason, not that we had a shortage of policies, but because we had alternatives. We had another option of free dollars coming into the economy. So we just didn't bother. And it's just symptomatic of any human being, human inclination. If you are indulgent, if you are giving everything that you need, you will not be able to task your grace. You will not even be compelled to think to be able to become creative and improve your lot, because you believe that your lot is already improved anyway. That's what happened to us. However, constitutes a substantial part. The global trend is shifting towards solid minerals.
Dele Alake said the ministry's 7-point agenda was in line with Tinubu's commitment to diversify Nigeria's economy. He said one of the ministry's critical 7-point agenda was the emphasis placed on local value addition through policies that promoted the processing of raw minerals because of the economic multiplier effect. The minister said the development of the solid minerals sector required collective responsibility by all stakeholders to make it a key contributor to the economy.
I chaired this meeting, and through our deliberations, I drew out the mines marshal which I unveiled a few weeks ago. Now, the establishment of the mines marshal is to be an agile, dynamic, and highly mobile force to combat illegal mining activities in many parts of Nigeria. As we speak, I've been able to draw 2,160 man-strong mines marshal, 60 in each state, and they were trained by the military for us. We took them out, gave them to the military, and the military trained them in the modern arts of warfare, because it is war. And now we are increasing the number because of the stringent calls from various operators, from various state authorities for the establishment or for the deployment of this mine marshals. And we are mining, as I speak right now, they are apprehending illegal operators in Osun, in Kwara, in Nasarawa, and in Kogi as I speak. But the essence is that without us securing the operating environment of the solid mineral sector, our efforts at inviting foreign, even local investors will be very futile, because at every forum that I've been to in Australia, in South Africa, in Saudi, in UK, everywhere that I've gone to market on solid minerals, the first issue that always comes is security of the operating environment. So we are taking this very seriously, and we intend to sanitize the entire operating environment so that Nigerians can derive maximum benefit from this God-given resource. The third critical point of the 7-point agenda is gathering of comprehensive data on Nigeria's minerals to de-risk the sector. We are all aware, without any equivocation, that without efficient and proficient data, no investor can make an informed judgment of investment in the sector. Not only in the solid minerals, in any sector whatsoever, any investor will require efficient data so as to know what kind of mineral is where, what the volume of the mineral is, what the longevity or the tenure of that mineral is, so as to be able to decide whether it is worth his investment or not. By the time we conduct serious, accurate data exploration, we'll discover that we have trillions of solid minerals embedded underground in Nigeria, and you can multiply that by the naira. So the president's projection is not a fluke. He knows what he's saying. By the time we are done with all of these efforts and inputs and policy initiatives that we are putting in place, trillion of naira will just be a chance. We'll be nudging the trillions of dollars.
A keynote address by Professor Akinade Olatunji on the topic Modernizing Mining Practices for Sustainable Development in Nigeria, Challenges and Prospects drew attention to artisanal and small-scale mining activities that have been prevalent in many parts of the country, particularly in the rural areas without any form of regulation and standardization.
The development of infrastructure around cities where mineral endowments are known, and of course, Nigeria at the point was a global player in the mining and export of coal miners, whose deployment of modern mining tools is limited and in many cases non-existent. The sector has moved on for so many years without any form of regulation and standardization. People of various shades and creed flock into the sector, turning vast areas into wasteland. The prevalent informality of the sector means loss of vital revenue that should not otherwise have been to government, and the rule of the jungle and survival of the fittest ends sway for a very long time. The enactment of the Nigerian Minerals and Mining Act 2007 and the Nigerian Minerals and Mining Regulation 2011 by the federal government was an attempt to rein in the impunity and end all commerce affairs in the sector. The acts and the regulation are described severally by people as a world-class legislation by all standards. This law, the regulation, made provisions for virtually every facet of the Nigerian mineral mining ecosystem. The made provision for setting up appropriate agencies and departments of government charged with specific responsibilities and roles in the mineral mining ecosystem. The law and the regulation also made provisions for how individuals, private and corporate entities can participate in the mineral and mining business in Nigeria. These were formulated to bring sanity and order into the sector. The question that would then rush to mind is, if the law is so perfect, why then the current confusion limited in the sector? I guess that is why we are here, to brainstorm on the gaps, the weaknesses, and prefer ways forward in the face of the experiences gathered over the last 15, 17 years of operating this law.
The Deputy Governor of Kaduna State, Hadiza Balarabe, and other stakeholders from the diplomatic corps, private sector, security, regulators, academia, and government ministries, departments, and agencies also made valuable contributions to the discourse.
Mining plays a significant role in Nigeria's economy, providing essential raw materials for various sectors and contributing to national development. The industry, however, faces some challenges that must be addressed to ensure its sustainability and responsible growth.
Nigeria has been blessed with abundance of solid minerals, and that at a time when everyone in the international community is struggling to have access to those critical minerals that as I said, you have in abundance. Now, this has already been proved by the mapping of your resources that, as the Minister recalled, has been funded by the World Bank and with a very relevant participation of the Spanish company Scalibur, and which needs to be completed and deepened, as the Minister said very clearly, to the risk the sector.
To achieve sustainable development in Nigeria's mining sector, we must prioritize gender equality and women's empowerment. We must ensure equal access to opportunities, resources, and decision-making positions within the sector. So I'm very excited to hear the Honorable Minister on your 7-point agenda. I know that the women will be well represented. I don't want us to go the way that agriculture has gone. We're still struggling. We've seen what the oil has done in the industry. I know it will be different in the mining sector.
Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the Nigerian Police Force clearly understands the very intricate and dynamic relationship between security and national development. The Nigerian Police Force, even in more concrete terms, understands clearly the nexus between insecurity and illegal mining in some parts of the country. In the light of these, therefore, the Nigerian Police Force will be taking the following steps to support efforts at guaranteeing sustainable development of our mining sector. Firstly, the Nigerian Police Force wished to pledge its irrevocable commitment to strengthening its partnership with the Federal Ministry of Solid Minerals, state governments, host communities of mining sites, civil society organizations, and other law enforcement agencies in working together to ensure the sustainable development of the mining sector. Secondly, we will work with a very charismatic, pragmatic, and oratorial Minister for Solid Minerals to ensure the actualization of the mines police. We'll work with the Honorable Minister to ensure that we're able to divest and purge our mining sector of all forms of crime and criminality.
Participants at the roundtable were divided into 4 technical groups by Professor Shola Adeyanju MNI, Head Public Affairs NIPSS. Group 1 were assigned to brainstorm on reforming policies and regulatory framework for sustainable mining development. Group 2 looked at strategies for minimizing impacts of mining activities on environmental sustainability. Group 3 had leveraging technology to provide infrastructure for supporting modern mining operations, and Group 4 was saddled with human capital development and capacity building for adequate internal workforce.
It is now the leadership of the industry, let me put it that way, that believe that they know it all. And at the end of the day, my fear is that they will not end up.
We cannot achieve anything sustainable because we have been practicing all these laws, all these regulations all along, and it has been working sustainably.
I have XRF, I started XRF in XRD, SCM. It's because of power. Power does a lot of damage.
It's the law. It's in the law.
After the breakout sessions, Professor Shola Adeyanju MNI, Head Public Affairs NIPSS, called on each group for reports back with presentations.
We're in a country where the mining sector is in its infancy. When we started, we had to bring in experts for all the technical heads of departments, processing, mining, surveying, metallurgy, and our experts came from all over Africa, especially Ghana, Tanzania. We have experts from Mali, Senegal, we have experts from China. What I found is Nigerians are the most enterprising, extremely intelligent, willing to learn the workforce. We have operations in Senegal, we have operations in Burkina Faso. The workforce we have seen here and the transfer of knowledge from our experts in Nigeria has been so impressive. And I think this has to be championed in every mining company that happens here. It has to be a fundamental drive to make sure this knowledge is transferred. I'm pleased to say we've upskilled so many of our workforce, even cleaners. We saw statistics that in Australia, the female truck drivers have a better safety record than the male truck drivers. And we suggested why don't we train some of our female unqualified staff like our cleaners to become expert truck drivers. There was pushback. I'm pleased to say we managed to do that, and we have female truck drivers who coincidentally has better safety records than their male counterparts.
The current status of human capital development in Nigeria today, as regards to the workforce, is how unplanned it is. Now, in the unplanned workforce, it starts from the institutions, from the high institutions, how they are even aware of what's ahead of them. So the lack of practice of mining itself, of the human capacity required for the mining sector in Nigeria is a problem right from the grassroots and right from the institutions. Structured training periodically, skills gap analysis, of which we could also look at it at the needs assessments, and lack of funding. And in our group, we had a huge matter about lack of funding. It could come as the lack of foreign direct investment or the fusion of it, the joint venture between different parties, and public-private partnerships are the ways we looked at for funding. The second will be performance or the mismanagement of performance. The way forward will be the key performance indicators of policy implementation. Because as we can see, the mining sector is filled with policies that are good. A lot of them were just learning about them, and if we are able to incentivize implementation of these policies by our leaders and regulators, it might help get there faster. The third will be to incentivize the top performance by either promotions, to formalize those in artisanal mining. For those that have worked maybe in the mining field all their life, it would be good to be able to put them on pension so that they are seen and heard. And what they feel they own, they will take care of it. Compensation or conditions of service. Cohesion or condition of service to the informal sector is one of the way I'm an operator, I'm a miner, and I understand very well that when the community and the people that we work with have a sense of ownership or feel like they are formal, the sky is the limit as an operator. We need to simplify the labor law, because in the public sector it's condition of service, so they understand these things in bullet points, but the informal sector are just about to pick up. Compensation of good efforts lead to sustainable strategic compensation approach to human capital development.
AI and machine learning to predict maintenance needs and forecast service problems to enable smooth flow of process. Public and private organizations should undertake tailor-made research and technical use of AI maintenance. Institutions to leverage on current outcome based on education that exposes students to hands-on specifics of emerging mining technologies in the sector. The second recommendation is on funding for information and non-baseline data.
We discussed about reclamation and rehabilitation. Rehabilitation of the mines area by restoring vegetation, contouring landscapes, implementing erosion control measures to minimize long-term environmental degradation. In fact, in our group, we suggest that bigger companies could train some PhD students on areas of land reclamation and rehabilitation, so that they will be experts on that, because we have quite a lot of degradation all over the place. And we realize that the artisanal miners, they don't have the power to exhaust most of the mineral in the area where they operate. So wherever they operate, deep down, there are still minerals. So what do we do to that? We just have to now engage technology to make sure that we exhaust. We don't just close up the pit like that, because there are still resources on that environment. In some places, it's water they took over their mine, and they just abandon it like that. And there are still minerals there. So we have to control this water and make sure that those resources were exhausted before reclamation. Then, very important, community engagement. And that's in the law, there is community development agreement. In every mining community, from beginning to the end of the mining activities, the community has to be
carried along. And let them know, yes, this thing that we want to do, we have carried out AIA. These are the things that can prevent the likely occurrence of problems arising from our mining. So involving local communities in decision-making processes, providing environmental education and training, and fostering partnerships to ensure mining activities benefit local stakeholders and minimize negative impacts on the environment in the community.
The sustainable development in mining industry is aimed towards creation of wealth, jobs, and environmental sustainability, all aimed at national economic development. So that should be the focus of the mining industry: creation of wealth, jobs, environmental sustainability, and national economic development. We recognize the following policies and regulations that are available now. If there are others, it will still be put in. The legal frameworks, that's the Mining and Minerals Act of 2007, Mining Regulations 2011, the Mining Policy 2011, Roadmap 2016, Metals and Minerals Policy, and the SMGF policy. It's SMGF policy. So two, the policy, laws, and regulations as they are not necessarily bad. Efforts are ongoing, however, to see to their review. But we notice that there is need for wider consultation for all critical stakeholders. There are identifiable conflicts within the laws and policies, and there should be clear definitions of the roles and implementation of the state, the local government, and the federal government. 4, there is noticeable undue interference by state governors in the implementations of policies and the law. This needs rectification. 5, policy implementation should be bottom-up rather than top-down approach. 6, specific mentions in the policy should incorporate the issue of multi-dimensional data acquisition.
That will be mandatory in the policy that every state government should focus on evaluation. Because even your evaluation report, your evaluation is an asset. You can take it for any bank to have your money together. And another one again is the laboratory. Today in Nigeria, the best way to sell your mineral is by certification by CCIC. We don't have any standard laboratory that will certify that this mineral are taken away from Nigeria. We will give the price. So CCIC will go ahead and give us the price and the value of what we have. So we need to set that standard very, very high.
I really want a situation whereby, in order if the government wants to generate revenue and you really want to know the works of what you are exporting, there is a need for there to be a strategic approach, either by setting up major centers where or encouraging miners to be able to analyze their materials per time, and probably maybe modular refining operations. Especially for the small scale operators, it can be in different segments: large scale, medium, and moderate. Where a situation whereby you are bringing up a pegmatite or a lithium base, and if there are other minerals, nickel, cobalt, and a host of other things, they can be able to strategically separate so that each of these minerals can actually earn its own revenue.
Concerning the issue of data, governments cannot evaluate what you have here. No government does that. The best the government can do is what they're doing through the geological survey. And let me give you an information here. There are diverse levels of data. The geological survey of Nigeria data, they have been collecting data for over 100 years. And don't let's underestimate that there is a lot of data in that agency. Both in Kaduna, both here in Abuja, and even the British Geological Survey that has almost 50% of the data that we think we have. The second level is the data that is collected
with the mining cadastral office. That's a huge data that people are not looking at. Every of these women here who have licenses submit your work program, isn't it? With your geology. That's a basic data. And you cannot get a license unless you submit that to the mining cadastre. Now, I'm aware there are not less than about 10,000 licenses issued out. So there are at least 10,000 levels of data.
You take your students many times, even at the gate, you don't allow them to get close beyond the gates. And it's the same set of students that in the future you want to come and recruit. So I thought that somehow make room for competent people here during the UNED project, and many of them will give up all their experiences in other places where room, it's taxpayers' money that are used to generate this data that we're lamenting about in geology, survey, and the rest. And yet, the students that are literate are not having access to any of those things at all. In the future, we will still come to cry. So I think that mining companies should try to make room, even if for state data, for the sake of training, factoring this next generation that are coming in. Thank you.
Plenary ended for day 1, with more zeal to continue and conclude on day 2.
Keep watching.
Keep watching. Keep watching NIPSS Policy TV.
Mining in Nigeria has immense potential to contribute to economic growth and diversification. However, it faces significant challenges that require concerted efforts from the government, industry stakeholders, and the international community. With the right policies, investments, and responsible practices, Nigeria can harness its mineral wealth for sustainable development and prosperity. We will continue with this roundtable summit on sustainable development of the mining industry in Nigeria in our next episode. Do keep a date with us again. I am Lydia Odidiochi. Stay safe and goodbye.